Good evening. If you're watching this on YouTube, this is why the video's up, right? I'm going to demo some painting using these two guys, Plague Marine and a Mark. Good evening. Plague Marine and an Ultramarine using just these three paints and whatever other questions you might have. If you're watching it on YouTube, this space won't be filled with comments, so you won't be able to see them. So if anyone has any questions, hopefully I'll remember to repeat the questions. So again, if you're watching it on YouTube, you'll know what's being asked of me. Other than that, I hope you've all got a load of paints and a load of questions ready, and yeah, let's crack on. Well, I say crack on, I'm going to sit here waffling on until a load of you have actually joined. Let's see. Speed I just fired as well. Good stuff. Yeah, we'll see who actually turns up. Good evening, brother. Good evening, Mr. Alexander as well. What did the guys at Journeyman say, Alexander? Mr. Kurganite, hello. You don't normally see the camera this way around, do you? The infamous yellow wall of the internet is that way, but actually for demonstrating painting is best if I actually sit this way, but I don't normally when I'm at home. Normally I sit over there. So yeah, so there you go. So did you all like me things? These things. In fact, here we go. ROS, good evening. Gifts, good evening. Let's spin it all around. Let's put it all in the right place. Mr. Craig Murphy, good evening. There we go. Riggins, love that name. Right, here we go. Yeah, a couple of dudes. I've gone for a grey palette because the black one generally means that these get overexposed, and a light one means that these get underexposed. So I've gone grey. There you go. Oxycodist, good evening. Instadam, good evening. Frederick, good evening. Rich Dreads, good evening. We are ready to do a bit of painting and what have you. Look, never ever seen a brush with a mould line before. Yeah. We are going to be using this brush. How does that sound? Let's zoom in a little bit more. So we can all see. Yeah, ROS. You thought they were great. I love the instructions. It's easy to forget what you can do with a few colours. Yeah, do you know what? You say forget. I don't think people even realise in the first place, and I think that's part of why I did it. You know, like people assume that, you know, there's this magazine saying, oh, here's what you can do with your first issue, which is essentially just paint a marine all blue, like with a brush like this, and you're being told that it takes half an hour for the paint to dry and blah blah blah, and then you can only do the black bits, and they're saying that's all you can do, you know. And then you get, in the next issue, you get one of these things and a pot of this stuff, and they're saying all you can do is paint this guy green, maybe some of the bits and bobs black, and it's just so not true. you know, when you can achieve so much more from painting. And like I said in one of my last videos, if people can get better results with less effort and less time, will they enjoy painting models more? Will they complete more models? Will they buy more models? Will they buy more paint to paint more models, to have more fun? Do you see what I mean? So that's the way I look at things, you know, show people how great and easy it can be. Unfortunately, not a lot of people understand how to do that. So that's why I say what I say, that's why I do what I do, that's why I share what I share. So yeah, right, and for all you nutters out there, no, I've not primed them. You don't get a primer in the magazine, and this video is all about, imagine, you know, you're little Georgie, you know, you're 15 years old, you've never seen a toy soldier before, and your grandma comes in and goes, I saw these, I thought you'd like them, and you've never used paint, you've never used anything ever, you know, you've got nothing but the contents of this magazine, which is these 3 paints, a couple of these dudes, and a brush. And now, how do you use it? How do you get the best out of it? Without a mould liner, without a drill, without a spray, without anything, really, with just the contents of the magazine. So that's why I'm asking you guys to share this as much as possible, because there'll be people out there that don't have a clue, and they'll follow that magazine, and there's information missing. So here we are. It's a great magazine. It's a great product. It's fantastically priced. You get great stuff in it, you know. And I'm just doing this for everyone else's benefit. So there you go. Should we crack on, or what should we do first? Get your votes in, Marine or Death Guard. Because it doesn't actually matter. If you notice, it uses the same colours, it uses the same method, it uses the same, well, it's just the same. It's just the same. And that's the first most awesome thing to realise about painting is, in most cases, it's all the same. All you do is change the colour and change where you put it. And that's it, you know. So yeah, Death Guard. All right, so we've got a vote for each. Right, I'm gonna count down from 10, and whoever gets the most votes. That's a thumb, by the way. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, Death Guard squeezed in at the end. Brilliant. Okay, so we'll do the Death Guard. Right, so let's talk our way through this. First thing I did when I painted the Death Guard was I added some black in. Why did I have some black in? So there's 2 reasons I added black into this mix. The first reason is that is as light as I can go. So that has to be the final highlight. So I need something a couple of shades darker than that. So there's the first reason that I go and mix some colours. That's why I go darker. Alright. The second reason is these 2 colours are very similar. Yeah? Death Guard and the actual model are very similar. So what that means, let's move this up a bit. What that means is, while I'm painting the entirety of this model in this colour, well, what if I miss somewhere? It might not be that obvious. So if I change the colour drastically, then anywhere I've missed will show up a lot easier. So there's the first 2 reasons. I say first 2 reasons. They're both my reasons. So yeah, how do I choose what colour? Well, it's really, I want it as light as possible. Sorry, not as light as possible. See that's not really green that anymore. That's getting in the realms of, in fact, it looks a lot darker on the camera. It's getting in the realms of like a weird greyy. a weird like khaki grey, so I need to go lighter. So look, there's that for reference. There we go. So that is still green, and it's obviously different from that. So there we go. You see I've got little bits of water there. That's what I'll water my paint down with in a bit. And let's just wang all that on. In fact, in comparison now, I'd say this side looks lighter than that side. But whatever, I'm cracking on. And I'm only going to do a leg again. Let's see. So, what's happening now? What's happening now is I'm not carefully painting this model. I'm just wanging it on. Yeah. So that's the next thing that needs to change about this hobby. This idea that everything has to be, right, get your rubber gloves on. Get your sterilising chamber out. Get your dropper bottles and pipettes and measure everything carefully. And paint carefully. Nah, just get your thing and whack it on. Yeah, so your first stage is, if you're teaching somebody how to paint, the first thing you've got to get them to do is relax. Yeah, get them in a state where actually making mistakes doesn't matter. Yeah, so I've just wanged all that on there, and yay, nothing's gone wrong. Well, because really, what can go wrong? You know, oh, you could put too much paint on. Yeah, you can put too much paint on, but that's a choice. So you're either aware of the choice you've got, or you're not. All makes sense so far. Yeah. Let's have a look at see what you're all saying. Wow, loads of you have joined. Wang it on. Yeah, well, wang it right on. Big fan of wanging it on, I am. Yeah, why not? It's better than wanging it off. One you can do in church. Alright, brilliant. So, there we go. Next thing, why wait half an hour for it to dry when most people have an air dryer? So, air dryer it. Don't air dryer it towards all this, because that'd be stupid. There we go, one model with dry hair. Quick swig of the brew. Wobbly jubbly. Right, okay. So, can you see now that this is obviously different to that? So, when you're painting the entirety of your model, you'll be able to see if you've missed anywhere, which is great. Absolutely great. There's kind of a trick I learned when painting scenery, you know, polystyrene scenery. So if you undercoat polystyrene with an aerosol spray, you know it melts the polystyrene. So what we did was we sealed it all first with PVA glue mixed with ink, because if you just put PVA glue on, well, you don't know where you've missed, because PVA glue is white and polystyrene is white. So we just add a little bit of ink in there to make it go blue or pink or whatever other colour, and then you can see that you've got everywhere. Alright, so there you go, terrain tip for you. Okay. Right, what was the next thing I did? Well, I went a little bit darker. So what I do is I get a bit of paint and I get a little bit of water and I make it darker. Yay, cool. Pull back and twist. Now, this brush, you have to work to keep the point on it. So there's two ways of doing that. You can pull back and twist like that. Pull off that little hair there. Pull back and twist. And that should get an okay point. In fact, let's get it there. You can see it better if it's over my finger. Alright. The other way is actually to use it as a wedge, like that. Wedge it out. Find the way it'll flatten like a chisel. There we go, that's the one. So actually, that way it's wide, and if I turn it like that, it gets slimmer. Wider. Slimmer. And I use this slim side to cut down and through. And again, watch, I'm not going to be too careful. Because do you remember from the guide I said, I can always wipe my finger like that. From the guide I said, there's a neatening stage. There we go, I'm not going to be too fussy. Notice I'm rubbing the model. Is the paint rubbing off? You might not be able to see in that image there, but no, the paint is not rubbing off. There we go. So, seeing is believing. Not that I'm recommending you don't undercoat your minis, I actually do recommend you undercoat your minis. I'm just going to paint this weird thing, just this dark colour, just because it makes my eye feel better. There we go. I'm actually doing two sides on this. This took no time at all, but doing all this is obviously going to take longer. I only wanted it to take a couple of minutes. But there you go. It's not. Just going around the rivets. There you go. Happy with that. This is the leg I'm doing. Any questions so far? Right. This actually looks pretty dark. So now watch how watery I do that. You see how the paint's behaving there? Yeah. And then, see I've not got puddles on my brush. Yeah. Now I'm actually going to do some broader strokes just over all the lines I've already done. Just with that. I feel like thickening it up just a little bit. There you go, some broader strokes. Now I know that I've missed out a colour stage. That's different to the guides, but all this just looked dark enough as it is. So, you know, why should I do it exactly how I did it last? Why should I follow all the same stages if I've done it this time unintentionally? Is different this time, so I won't. Well, I'll still get these to match up. So all this makes sense so far. It's getting these little pothole things. Doosh, doosh. There we go, nice one. I'll post a pic of this side so you can see it. In fact, I'm gonna just do from the back of his knee, just to keep things swift. So I don't want to. I'll spend all night doing this. I'll get on and answer some of your questions and all that business. There we go. Right, let's see what you've got to say while this dries. Wow, loads of you flying in. Nothing. Right, there we go. Bob Ross gone figure. But yeah, people have said that. Thank you. Wanging should be a technical term. It probably is, but just not in this industry. Simpler the better for sure. Yep, cool. Will Paint says, am I right in thinking you're doing this just using the colours in the magazine? Yes, that is exactly why I'm doing this. From the first, if you got the first two issues of Conquest magazine, how do you get the most out of it? If that is all you've got, if you've got nothing else, just them. Just this brush that you get in it, just these paints, just these two different types of models. I just want to show people what's possible. Okay. Alright, Nate Satan says, wanging, box and futtocks, a few of the technical terms of Sewell painting. When does it say box and futtocks? What do you mean, buck or fugger? sweat try. That's why you always have basic colours and yellow. With those you can achieve any needed colour. Yeah. When you know how to desaturate colours with others, blah blah, that's when it gets fun. Drop a share on my story for you, man. Oh, cheers, well, thank you. I'm doing the Emperor's work. Brilliant. Buck or fugger. That's what's known as a spoonerism for those guys that don't know what spoonerisms are. Right, okay, so there we go. Got the shading done on this leg. Nick, can you see I've just got some residues left over on here? There we go. In fact, it probably won't be enough. But a little touch of blue, and we'll see. See how, look how tiny amount of blue. Can you see it there? Like, just like, literally like 2 mils worth on the end. It actually makes this incredibly blue. But still, watch. Just take a load of it. Look how it's behaving on the palette. You see how see-through it is? Yeah. More see-through and it probably won't have as good impact. And again, I'm not using this as a big floody wash. I'm just using it to add a little bit of variety here and there. There we go. And I'm generally pushing it into the recesses. There we go. And I want my highlights to appear more green. There is actually colour theory involved in all that, but not intentionally. Alright, all that makes sense so far. Yeah, I'll give this a blast to the air dryer. Again, notice I always hair dry down and away from here because I don't want to dry this out. You know, I feel like going a bit more bluer. And a bit wetter. Nice, there we go, that's what I like. You see, again, I'm not being all like, oh, I must be dead careful. That'll come later on when it comes to highlighting and the battle damage stages. No, I actually really like that. Easy peasy. Have I done anything difficult so far, by the way? You know, you guys let me know if I've done anything that is considered advanced. What have I done that's considered advanced yet? This important questions, these, I feel, just because I'm finally going to do this thing black, this weird strip down it. You like that? 3 brush strokes and a little doop thing. In fact, should I do in there? I'll do in there as well. So we can all see it. So everything looks neater. It's a good tip, that. If you feel like you're getting nowhere with one of your paint jobs, kind of neaten everything up with these scruffy bits. Immediately it'll just feel like you've got somewhere. Or just base coat everything. It's getting all them little holes there. Oh yeah. There we go. Give that a blast with the air dryer. I need to get a Twitch account going. Yeah, my internet doesn't seem to hack Twitch, unfortunately. And I don't have a webcam, or I'm just not technologically gifted. So if anybody's got any recommendations or donations, I'd be more than happy to oblige with a Twitch account. I'll sit here all day teaching people, mate. I absolutely love it. Because ultimately, I want all you guys to win. Because let's face it, I don't get paid for any of this. I only do it because it's just good. There we go. So I had some black on my brush, so there you go, that's why that's gone this funny greeny colour. I want to get it about the same as the colour I originally used, maybe a little bit brighter. Now notice I've left some reference colour there on my palette. Yeah, so I can get it about right. It's about the same, that. So I'm not, see here it's see-through, here it's not see-through, so I'm referencing that. So I'm just going to go a little bit lighter than that. There we go. Right, okay. I'm going to take quite a lot off my brush now. This is base coat worthy. Yeah. But actually I don't want a lot on my brush, because now I'm just going to put in these lighter, like field. When I say field, I mean I don't mean the edge of something, I mean the flat area when I say the word field. There we go. So I'm using paint that will leave me a soft result. That's the kind of consistency I'm looking for. Something that will give me a soft result. Not a stained result like that. Not an opaque result like that. That all makes sense. Something that will give me a soft result. Lovely. Have I done anything expertly so far yet? Just made a little mistake there. The paint has ran into the gap where I wanted it dark, but I will fix that later on. Can you believe we're actually nearly finished? And if I wasn't waffling to you guys and doing this slow and clearly, I'd have been finished ages ago. I'd have been racking my way all up the side of him now. So yeah. So now I'm going to go a little bit lighter, and I'm going to repeat that same stage. Yeah. There's something quite satisfying about painting a good old Nurgle, isn't there? Not that I do a lot of it, because I don't want a bit of that moisture. I can see why Mr. David Soper really enjoys it. Right, so coming up soon, I'm going to want to be as neat as possible now. And this is the bit where you're going to have to develop your skill if you're not that skilled. However, developing that skill will be a lot easier if you were aware of certain choices. Now let's go on about choice. So far I've made a bunch of choices on here, and hopefully I've been clear about what they all are. I hope. So there we go. There's that guy so far. Let's zoom in a little bit more. Just, oh, that's as close as that gets. It's not as focused as it gets. If I put my hands there, hopefully it'll zoom, focus on. You can't see it clearly, but there you go. There's this guy so far. Zoom back out a bit. Right, let's have a look. See if you got any questions. Chris Danish, you alright, dude? Cheers, Instagram. Thank you, man. Brilliant evening, Kazza. How's Croydon? Okay, next step. Good evening, Nick Mini Painter. Right, so pretty much I'm going to use almost pure this. Now, I really want to get a nice fine point on my brush, but let's put that there. You notice the brush has a twist in the end of it. You know, cheap brushes, they curl at the end like this. So So what I did was, this actually had a more pronounced curl on it, so I actually just cut the end off a little bit. But that curl's okay if you're aware of it. Yeah. It curls back and away. So I want to use the point of that curl. So it's going to curl down like that, so I'm going to use the point of that curl. Like that to draw with. I wouldn't use it this way. I wouldn't be able to see what's touching. Yeah, use it this way. Let's get a bit of water. Let's keep water on my palette. See how much I used. Not a lot. So I've got that little point on my brush, and now I want to get to a point where I want to position myself so I can see that point, and hopefully that point is nice and neat. There's a little bit of scum on the end of my brush. There we go. And now I'm just going to start to get the edges in. Now, in the guide, I did the battle damage stage and this stage separate, but actually when I'm painting, I just do them both at the same time. So I'll catch these edges like this, and then I might just go nick like that. So I'll paint an edge. I'll just do a couple of random little nicks here and there. I'll do some nicks first and then paint an edge. It's all a case of whatever. Go with the flow. Now, this stage I'll also do a couple of times, because this Death Guard is a little bit see-through because of how I've mixed it. So, with it being see-through, that means it'll benefit from more layers. The more layers I do, the more vibrant it gets. The more vibrant it gets, assuming I've kept my lines nice and sharp, the sharper and crisper your paint job gets. There we go. Let's get the best point I can on this. Let's go around some of these little pock marks. This brush really didn't last my first painting session. It's a lot worse for wear now. There we go. Pure, what do you call it? I'm moving it on the palette so you can see the consistency more. If it was me at home, without you guys watching, I'd go like that, boom, done, and that's it. Yeah, no farting around. Put some new little nicks and scratches and what have you. See this little armour panel in there, that's a little bit of a pain to get to. So I've gone this time now, I've let the brush curve out this way. Yeah, I'm actually going to get that armour panel in with the back end of the curve. It's easier that way. So, let's talk about curved brushes. Brushes that curve, generally synthetic, and you'll see them in all sorts of ranges. They're really good for dry brushing. And that's not a slight on them, because dry brushing is an important skill to learn. They are actually just really good for dry brushing. Unfortunately, dry brushing kills all brushes pretty quickly, regardless of how good they are. So the other good thing about synthetic brushes is they actually don't cost a lot of money. So you're getting a really useful tool at a really good price. There we go. Right, so we're pretty much nearly done with this armour panel. I'm going to have a little bit of blue, I'm going to have a load of this black. I kind of want me battle damagey colours to I don't want them too pure. So now I'm going to choose the curve down of the brush, of these bristles, and I'm just going to, in fact, let's do this, let's demonstrate this bit, because this is actually quite misunderstood. Let's say I've done a, let's do it up here. Let's say I've done battle damage like that, and I've just done this weird kind of scratchy shape. Alright. Now as you guys are looking at it, this would be the bottom, and this would be the top. If I put the light colour on first, when I apply the dark colour, let's do it obviously black like this. Should wait for that to dry as well, but I don't want to. Now when I apply the dark colour, I want to apply it above, yeah, and I want to let it kind of wrap around a little bit here and there. I don't necessarily always want to do it exact either. There we go. So I do it like that. Yeah, with the rough edges. Sometimes not. Because let's say I wanted a scratch with a little bit more speed in it. Then I'd do a smoother application of paint. And then I'd do a scratch a bit more like this. There we go. You see the two differences? Yeah, both are valid. Yeah, but just the light goes on first, the dark goes on second, with the light showing underneath. Not hard and fast rule, that's just how I've done it for this. There's nothing wrong with doing the dark first and then doing the light underneath. You know, and when you come to doing certain edges, so let's say is the back end of a Marine's armour. Yeah, and I want the chip to go here. Well, the dark area has to go there. Well, how can the light colour be underneath? Well, it can't, so it's got to go around the top. Yeah? Why aren't I using a wet palette? Ooh, that is a long conversation. Tell you what, remind me after I've just done this demo with this guy. I'll go through it properly, actually. I actually don't like wet palettes. Okay, so I'm about to do some battle damage. I'm just making sure this colour's nice and dark. Make sure my brush is nice and neat. And on battle damage goes. Now, I cannot stress enough how small you should do these. It's always you can always add more and go bigger, but shrinking battle damage spots will always be crapper than you'd like it to be. Next thing, I'm just kind of going right over the rivets as well, and then just running my finger over the top of them so it takes the paint off the top, leaving it light with the dark ring around it, unless I can actually get the dark ring around it like that. So here we go. And going in these little pock holes as well. Let's add some little damage along the edges of the armour. Let's give this armour plate a little friend. Top of the rivet, around the rivet, top of the rivet. I am very light when I do that with my finger. Brilliant. Now, could I, would I and should I go back and add some more lighter? Looking at that in comparison to that, yeah, I'd like to, because this leg's still a lot lighter. But there you go. These are all the choices you make as a painter. If it never goes to plan, so don't worry about it. Roll with it. There we go. Let's. I'm going to go back, and I'm just going to see how thin I've done this. Just kind of going to lighten up the general area of it. I'm going to avoid my battle damage here and there, but I do just want these to kind of match up a little bit. This is me just being fussy. as opposed to showing what's possible with. Well, I suppose I'm still showing what's possible with the magazine stuff, aren't I? Right, there is that done. I am happy with that. Now, the ultramarine, same process. All you're doing is swapping that colour for that colour. Yeah, and when you do your final two highlights, you add in a little bit of that. It's exactly the same process. Or you don't do the weird blue glazes either. Well, you can do if you want, but they won't show up. So there you go. There you go. You saw how I used probably the most cost-effective brush there is. And I think I've done a paint job there that's much higher than Army standard. I'll post a pic later on so you can see how I've done it. Meanwhile, you get to look at my beautiful face. Right, let's zoom out because you don't really want to see Nosferatu up close like that, do you? Doopy-doo. Right, let's get stuck into some questions. Wow, loads of you have turned up. Brilliant. Let's find out where we are. Right, I would say hello to every single one of you if I could. Hello magpies, but I can't. Hello to all of the dead. I like that name. Cool. ROS says he's got to get back to work. Love what you're doing. I wish I had this advice when I started painting miniatures. Thank you. I wish I could have given it to you as well. I wish I could get all my advice out to beginner painters, but also I wish I could get all my advice out to more advanced painters as well, because the results don't necessarily reflect the efficiency. You know, you can have a really good paint job that has had a lot of unnecessary work to get there. Yet you can have a really poo paint job, technically, that's had a lot of really cool artistic choices and it actually has hit the spot, you know. So you've got to ask yourself what really makes a good paint job. Then if I could kind of like fuse those two painters, then you'll probably get you'll get great results from the high-end nature of the painter, but you'll also get more direct route of getting there. You know, top-end painting just doesn't have to be complex. People make it complex, you know. Why aren't I using a wet palette? What a great question. The question I almost never get tired of answering. Let me, I need something to wipe me board with. I'll be back. Right, let's go through the facts of a wet palette first. Because when I do things like this, I don't want to impart my opinions on you, really. Where possible, I'd like to just impart facts on you and let you make your own minds up. Alright? If I was just trying to force my opinions on you, I think that would make me a pretty poor teacher. So, painting is about control. Yes or no? You need to be in control of yourself, your brush, your lighting, your model. you paint, you need to be in control. All right? Control is the key word here. Letting go of control is not what you want. It doesn't matter whether you just want to go slapping paint on everything, because you're still choosing to do that because it's giving you a deliberate outcome. So that is control. No matter what, it's control. If you want a nice neat line and you're going at it, then that's not control. All right? So you need to be in control. Do you like me freak out? So here we go. Is that too overexposed? It's got to be in it. Let's get rid of that now. There we go. Okay, so a wet palette consists of some kind of tray. I hope we all agree on that. Next, it consists of some kind of water. Do you like me water? Yeah. Next, it consists of some kind of sponge. Yeah. Next, it consists of some kind of porous paper. Some even use greaseproof baking tray paper or tracing paper or whatever. Yeah. Next comes a blob of paint. Okay, are we all happy with that? I'm going to give you a couple of seconds just to type any disagreements with anything I've said so far. I've not actually seen because I've not scrolled down yet. Nate Satan says it's super advice. Thank you, good sir. Ditsy Beth joined. Hello, Ditsy Beth. How many minutes? I'll come back to all the questions in a little bit, and there's going to be quite a few. G. Bob Lee, good evening. Ryan Minnie says, awesome what you can do with a few colours. Thank you, good sir. Christoph, good evening, good sir. Mr. Tumnus, wow, all the way from Narnia. Right, brilliant, okay. Right, all thumbs up so far, brilliant. Okay, so, here we go. So, now let's go through the mechanics of how a wet palette works. Water in here is fed through capillary reaction up through the sponge, through the paper, into the paint. Correct? I think so. Alright. Water evaporates out of the paint. Okay? That's pretty much how it works. So you've got two processes going on here. You've got capillary reaction here, and you've got evaporation there. Okay? How much control over this process do you have? That's I want you to put your answer below. How much control over that process do you have? Like, given that you've just seen how much control I've used on the palette, I need like split second response. I don't have minutes. I want this consistency right now. I need this drying time from this consistency right now. Because that's how we paint. You know, paint takes like 30 seconds to dry. You know, don't need to fart around. So, how much control do I have? Whatever sponge. Zero. Everyone's saying only choice of sponge type, but none over that. Alright, so the general consensus is we have 0%. Okay, evaporation. How much control over that do we have? How much control? Already it's not looking good for a wet palette, is it? Alright. Somebody's mentioning temperature. Everyone mentions temperature, but trust me, you cannot cool the room down enough without a draft. And even a cold draft will dry your paint out. Bear that in mind. How much control over evaporation do we have? On a second to second basis. Well, guess what the answer is? It's a big fat 0%. Alright, so, given that painting is all about having control over almost everything ever, how good's a wet palette? It's interesting. Sit in a fridge. Yeah, I'm not up for that. So, why do people use a wet palette? Because, well, it feeds your paint moisture all the time, keeping it wet all the time. But how wet? And over what rate? You know, it does do the job that people want it to do. But actually, what does it take away from you? If what you want to learn, and if what we want to learn, if I want to develop more, is having control over the paint, is having control over the moisture, well, this is taking that away from you. It's not that there's necessarily zero control. It's just that it has full control and you have no control. Does that make sense? So if you want to develop your painting skill and you want to develop how to use paint and moisture together, well, the palette is where you prep all of that business going on. And did you notice on my palette earlier on that when I prepped paint, I kept using that paint and it was workable almost all the way through the project because I set the boundaries, I set the criteria, I set the ins and outs. I'm fully in control, and that's a skill I've developed. All right, so let's go into my background about how and why I've developed that skill, and hopefully this will encourage a few of you. So I learned to paint a lot in Games Workshop Manchester, and that store is in a shopping centre, and it was regularly 40 degrees in that store because it had no air conditioning, and it was stuck between the air conditioning blocks of other major department stores and underneath the kitchens of the food court, and then fill it with kids, you know. And it's a pretty big store, and a lot of people can get into it. So it was hot. I had to learn. Now, I didn't know I was learning. I was just learning blindly. It's only once I reverse engineered everything I've done that I realised that what it is, everything. Moisture control in your paint is all about. And it's about being aware of how your brush works, why it works the way it works, and what your dry palette is for. Most people, a palette of any nature is just, it's just a place to keep your paint. It's not. It's a place where you manage your paint to do an incredibly precise task. And the wet palette does not decide the consistency of paint that you want. It decides zero. It's just a machine essentially that is indiscriminate about your needs. And I don't need that. I need to be quite discriminate about my needs. Yeah, and so do you guys. You know, so a dry palette gives me that. Now, paint still dries. Well, paint still evaporates. Well, I've still got zero control over paint evaporating, but what I do have full control over is paint saturation, which is what I use my brush for. Which again, you saw at the beginning of this video. Yeah, you saw I was in control. Yeah. So if you missed, by the way, if you missed the beginning of the video, if Instagram lets me download this to my phone, I will shove it on YouTube. So hopefully you'll all get to watch it. Sometimes Instagram's weird, it won't let you save things, but hopefully, you know, there you go. So there's a brief insight in my feelings on wet palettes. While they do the job, they're a crutch for you, and you avoid developing your own consistency skill. At the end of the day, use one if it's fun for you. Personally, I like to develop those things. You know, there's some fantastic painters out there, some of the best painters in the world. They use wet palettes. You know, go for it. However, don't go for it just because they said, or don't go for it because you read it in a book, or don't go for it because you think it's the best thing. Yeah, go for it with your eyes open, just with the facts. You know, even my opinions on why I like to do it that way, they're just my opinions. You know, and I find more fun in finding these harder, more minimalistic ways of doing things and trying to get maximalistic results out of it. That makes sense. Right, I'm going to go back and find out some other questions because you all kind of picked up pace a little bit while I was going there. Sit in a fridge, that was the last thing. Miss Tumner says, that's my point. Over the summer when I was very hot, your palette was drying out after a day. What, a wet palette? I still use a dry palette even on the hottest of days. You know, I keep my moisture levels under my control no matter what. Richie Dredd says, this is exactly what I've been struggling with on my quest back into painting. Everyone touts wet palettes and you've gone with that, but you keep thinking back to the consistency in the good old tile. Now let's talk about tiles. Tiles are good. However, I don't ever recommend cleaning your tile. I recommend spraying it black or grey or whatever colour it is you prefer, and then but good few times, because what paint has in it, paint has its own thinners in it. So if you've got dry paint on a clean tile and you've put in wet paint over it, well, it starts to flake, and then you get those flakes in your paint job. I use a shelf from an old Games Workshop, or not an old, a new Warhammer store. It's like a big thick piece of like plasticard thing, or I'll use MDF. Alright, so watch out for them flakes if you're going to use a tile. The McVeighs, Ali and Mike McVeigh, they use just a piece of plastic card. You know, just a white piece of plastic card, which is great. Connell says, the only thing a wet palette gives you is time to use the paint. Well, yeah, assuming the paint that it's got on it is the consistency you want. If it's not, then it doesn't matter, does it? You have to mix another batch anyway. Yeah. Nate's saying, if you find a wet palette fun to paint with, cool. It's most important to be fun, but it's not necessarily, it's a gimmick. Good choices are necessary. Yeah, good choices are necessary. Is it a gimmick? It's maybe a convenience for some people. Again, because we can't put a wet palette down, we can only look at its facts and then make an eye-open decision. Because do you only want results, or do you want to learn skills? Now, a wet palette will get you the results. You know, there's proof around the internet here, there, and everywhere about those results, and demonstrating those results. But take that palette away, and then what results are you going to get? So really, it comes down to me, doesn't it? You know. So I use a wet palette, by the way. I used to use a wet palette years ago. I don't anymore. So wet palette is a tool when you really need to control the painting. You shouldn't use it. That's what Jaldor says. Shouldn't. If you're happy using it and you're having fun, then do it. Yeah, like what this fella said earlier on. Like what I said, yeah, Nate's saying. I personally don't. If you want to develop your skill in moisture control and paint control and brush control and palette control, I don't recommend using one, because a dry palette is harder to use and it's going to highlight all your deficiencies that you need to work on. Okay? So there we go. Okay, Councillor 13 says, I use a dry palette in Australia. No dramas. No dramas. If you think that's me, worst Australian accent ever. If you thin your paint, have wells in your palette. Oh, it just popped up at the top there. It says I've got 30 seconds remaining. So thank you for joining me. Please like and share this video and all that razzmatazz. Nikki Minipinner, is there an argument that learning to use both wet and dry palettes? Yeah, go for it, because it's just going to make you better, isn't it? Thank you. Please like and share. Come and see me for painting lessons. Have fun. Good night. 3, 2, 1.